Pioneer viewers, we continue to bring you all the hot developments regarding the Russia-Ukraine war. As you know, the war continues, and new news reaches us every day from the front line while the mutual attacks continue, and news that emerged offers very important indicators. The Russian army was trying to protect its tank against Ukrainian attacks, but taking different measures. For this reason, the protective plates and sprayer parts added to the tanks made the tanks look like turtles. This move of the Russian army was ridiculous and ridiculed by many social media users. This is not the first modification of the Russian army, and in the previous month, the measures taken by the Russian army against Ukrainian attacks were on the agenda. The Russian army had applied methods such as covering warplanes with tires and placing models in positions, and these measures taken by the Kremlin military were insufficient to prevent Ukrainian attacks. It seems that the Russian army still continues to take security measures with primitive methods, but fails to achieve its goals. So the measures taken by the Russian army cannot prevent the Ukrainian army's attacks and are ineffective in preventing damage. The ammunition and explosive warehouses used by the Ukrainian army have the same effect on the turtle tanks used by the Russian army. Russian turtle advancing in convoys are unable to repel the Ukrainian army's attacks and are destroyed. Ukrainian social media accounts say that the Russian army's turtle tanks are the tragicomic, and that the Russian army is running low on the stock, and the Russian authorities have not yet commented on this issue. Modernization of tanks is something that every army wants and supports, but the Russian army is not modernizing the tanks. On contrary, it's putting weight on them, and this prevents functionality. And while the Russian army should have learned from the modifications it made in previous periods, it has been the target of the great criticisms for attempting such a thing again. So let's take a look at the Russian tank convoy and the Russian turtle targeted by the Ukrainian army. So we continue to bring you developments on Russia-Ukraine war. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so that you don't miss our daily reports and explanations. You know that I also read all of your comments on our videos, so please continue to share your ideas about our content in the comments with us. Tell us in the comments what content you would like to see on the Pioneer channel. And let's start if you are ready. Pioneer reports. So the appearance of the Russian tanks during the Ukrainian operation the other day was quite surprising. Due to the plates added to the tanks looked like turtles, and the Russian tanks, which were ridiculed by the Ukrainian social media users, fell prey to the Ukrainian attack while moving in convoy. The Russian forces continue to attack Ukrainian frontline positions in the Donetsk region of the country using the tanks equipped with the protective metal structures. New footage from the front line shows that the fighting is flaring up across the country. Ukraine's 79th Separate Assault Brigade, operating in eastern Ukraine, has released a short video showing what it describes as a 17-vehicle Russian attack on its troops around Novomikhailivka in the Kiev-Donetsk region over the past days. Even the protective metal coating on the tank did not help against the targeted fire, and the 79th Brigade said in a post on social media. Footage circulating online in recent weeks shows Russia using fixed shell-like metal structure around its tanks to protect the vehicle from the front line Ukrainian first-person view kamikaze drones attacks, and the vehicle with protective cages have been doubled turtle tanks, which have been mocked from open sources accounts. So images published by the Ukrainian sources over the last few weeks shows damaged Russian tank and remain of a metal-protected crates in Donetsk, and Kiev has made extensive use of cheap FPV drones to target Russian armored vehicles and tanks. Russian tanks are favorite targets of Ukrainian FPV drones, the Kiev Defense Ministry said last month. The Ukrainian military uses low-cost drones to target the Russian military's expensive weapons and equipment, and as a result of these attacks, the Russian army suffers great material damage. The 79th Brigade said Ukrainian artillery and anti-tank missiles were fired at the convoy near the Novomikhailivka, thanks to the skills and well-coordinated work of our soldiers. 4 tanks, 6 infantry fighting vehicles, and 1 armored rescue vehicle remained on the battlefield, the statement said. So, as it is clear from the statement, the Ukrainian army destroyed a large part of the Russian convoy. Novomikhailivka is located on the front line southwest of the Russian-controlled city of Donetsk and just south of the village of Mariinka, which Moscow captured in December 2023. In southern Donetsk, it is located near Vuhldar, a strategic settlement where heavy fighting took place during more than 2 years of full-scale war. The settlements in the region are of strategic importance for the Ukrainian military. So Russian forces launched several attacks north of Mikhailivka, including an airstrikes on the settlement of Antoniivka, west of Novomikhailivka, and the Ukrainian military said in statements at 13:30 local time last day. Russian forces are also continuing fighting on eastern Ukrainian territory to take control of 2 more villages in the Kharkiv region in the northeastern Ukraine on the same day. Lieutenant Colonel Nazar, a spokesperson for the Kortesia, a Ukrainian forces group fighting in the eastern and northeastern Ukraine, told reporters that Russia is trying to prevent Ukraine from consolidating its positions in the east and south, and he said that the number of Russian attacks on the front line away from Kharkiv had increased. Moscow officials said in statements that the Russian troops were trying to seize Robotin, a village in the southern Zaporizhia region that Kharkiv retook from the Russian control in 2022 counteroffensives, and the Ukrainian military, for its part, said in a statement that Russia was trying to advance around Robotin and that 15 combat clashes had taken place near the settlement since the start of the day. As the clashes between the Ukrainian army and the Russian army continues, the impact of social media has been considerable. The Ukrainian army's communication strategy based on images and open data appears to be successful. Kiev authorities are conducting the war processes openly to the entire world, and the Kremlin administration, on the other hand, is practicing practices that are ridiculed by social media users, and this is also causing problems for the image of the Russian military. But what do you think about the Ukrainian army hunting down Russian tanks? And do you think the Russian tanks look like turtles? Do you think the measures taken by the Russian army can prevent Ukrainian attacks? And how do you interpret the Russian army's actions? Let me know about your comments, because you know that I read and I care a lot about all of your comments.